I haven't played Assetto Corsa too much since it came out, but there's already one car I know very well. Most of the time spent with this game has been behind the wheel of the Lotus Exus. I have tried both versions and they seem pretty similar in terms of balance and behavior. The Stage 1 version has some more power, some more downforce and a wider variety of compounds, but the suspension and alignment settings that work in one should work for the other. Those of you who have been around since the Project Cars days already know how these videos go. I built a setup driving in the most representative GP tracks, test it to make sure it works in all of them, and then share it. This time, most of the job was done at Nürburgring, with some driving at Spa and Barcelona to make sure it behaved well in different tracks. Building this tune, I have always used the medium compound, which is probably the best for a decent length race, and 100 kilos of fuel too. I bolted the softer compounds only to make sure the car remains balanced on them, and it worked well too. You shouldn't have to change anything to get good balance on other compounds, but you could try different tire pressures if you see the new compound overheats or doesn't heat up properly. So let's get on with it. We'll see the tune first, and then later on we'll see some driving footage with some tips to make the most of this car. First, brake balance. I start driving with 61/39, but I make constant adjustments as I drive. It's an easy way to change the car behavior on corner entry for different sections, or to adapt as the tires wear down. Check out this old video if you want to know more about this. For the wings, 23-27 was my choice for high downforce tracks. When you play with the front wing for balance, do it based on the car behavior on the fastest corners of the track that cannot be done flat out. In Nürburgring, the Schumacher S is the place you want to look for to have the correct wing levels. It isn't easy flat on race trim, in fact it's quite tricky. In medium downforce tracks like Spa, the car worked better with close values for the front and the rear, stuff like 15-15. Now, gearing. Let's start with the final ratio or final drive settings. Stick to the lowest values for all the tracks except maybe for Spa or Monza. In this, just go a click or two higher. This bar is huge, but it's full of useless values that should have never made it to the game. Just look at the numbers as I go up. Now we will go down, and you can see that only in the final 3 clicks there are useful values. You only have 6 gears, not 8 like modern Formula 1s, so play wisely with individual ratios and avoid big steps between gears. The 5th gear is bugged, and the options available are the same as for the 6th, so always stick to the lowest possible value for the 5th gear, and make sure 4th gear is long enough to avoid a big jump in between. These values should work okay for most tracks. Using a longer first gear that you can use in hairpins might be smart and reduce the steps between the next gears, but it can hurt your starts too. Now the diff. The power setting is higher than the default one. The car used to have horrible understeer on corner exit with it. Values between 55 and 65 worked okay without traction control, but higher values can be better with this assist on. Remember that you have 5 different values for the traction control, so set this accordingly. For the coast setting, 20 worked well. Here, coast is a value for both diesel and preload in project cars. My advice is to adjust it to get ideal balance mid-corner and use the brake bias to modify corner entry behavior. As I mentioned before, most of the mileage was done with the medium compound. The soft and the medium should be the race tires for the most common race distances. I have tried the super soft too, and the car still had decent balance. Maybe slight changes towards oversteer, like a softer front sway bar or more front wing, could be used for better one-lap speed. Now, tire pressures. This is the biggest problem with the default tune. The tires are way too inflated and the car feels incredibly stiff and responsive. With 15-14 I still had the temperatures under control and the boosting grip was huge. Try going lower at your own risk. I don't know yet how Assetto Corsa works in regards to overheating from low pressures and tire deformation. For camber, I stick to realistic values for a car of this type. -3.5 for the front and -1.2 for the rear would be my choice, but the right rear corner is bugged and cannot be set like that. For the sake of symmetry, I stick to -1 for the rear. This is another area where I need more time to find out how Assetto Corsa works. By now, I just stick to values that would make sense in real life. For toe, the only change I make is adding a bit of toe out for the front for a slightly better initial turn-in. Doesn't seem to be making a huge difference, but again, this is the usual setup for these cars in real life, so it's probably a good idea to mimic it if the game works okay in this area. Now we arrive to the most important bits. Let's talk about ride height now. This car gets a big boost of downforce from running low, unlike the front being slightly lower than the rear. This is very simple to set up, the lower the better. Lower the car until you start touching down in places where it hurts the handling. Tire pressures and spring rates have a strong influence on how low you can go until it's a problem. One good thing about Assetto Corsa is that you don't need a heads-up display to know when you touch down. The effects are really obvious, even without a wheel in your hands. Just have a look. Now more subtle examples. A small touchdown on the end of the straights is okay, but when your car starts going to places you don't want on braking zones just as the front sinks down, then it becomes a big problem. I use slightly stiffer springs than the default ones. After dropping the pressures, the car is very soft, so it's perfectly possible to handle a bit more stiffness. It also allows to get the car a bit lower safely, and it gives a better aero platform. The car rolls and pitches less, and it's better at high speed. At low speeds, there seems to be enough grip, so these are the values I use. For the sway bars, I like to soften the front a bit and use a slightly stiffer rear. This gets rid of the understeer the car has on the default tune. If you feel the balance is off, in this tune going to a different track, this item, together with the front wing, is the best way to achieve easy and fast improvements. Touch the sway bars if the balance is off across different kinds of corners. Touch the wing if the problem are fast corners. Now these are my damper values. I try changes to reduce the oversteer over bumps and curves going stiffer on the front end, while still trying to keep the car responsive on direction changes. This is what I ended up with, and it works well for me. In this game the units are not shown, you just get numbers, so you have to work by feel, and it's a bit harder knowing if you are going away from the basic principles, so I am still a bit shy about big movements. Now, something for those who have been around since the Project Cars days. In Assetto Corsa there are two settings affecting bump stops. Pucker rate defines the stiffness of the bump stop and how much it will yield under load. Think of it as the spring rate of the bump stop. The setting called travel range is the equivalent of the Project Cars option. A low value here is the equivalent of a big bump stop in Project Cars. If you set travel range low, you will hit the bump stop soon. A high value means there is more compression needed until you hit the bump stop. Now, some driving footage and tips. The only special trait this car has compared to your standard modern single-seater is the gearbox. 6 gears in such a fast car means there will be some big gaps in between gears. If you let the engine drop low, this car is incapable of producing wheel spin at all, so sometimes it's hard rotating the car on corner exit. Short shifting to avoid wheel spin is tempting, but it isn't generally a good idea as the car will plow forwards. At high revs, the car is very different. It rotates much easier, but it can be tricky to put the power down. In this situation, where you are trying to decide between two gears, I would recommend staying in the low gear all the way up to the limiter, while you feather the throttle, instead of going a gear up and nailing the throttle down. The exit of this hairpin is a good example. Look at how we squeeze second all the way up to the limiter. The same idea works for the downshifts. Mid-corner, the car will have a much stronger front end if you drop an extra gear. If you stay in a long gear, the car will get more understeer. All cars push forward in a long gear. This one just does it a lot. This right-hander is one of these tricky corners where 4th is too long and 3rd is too short. You'll have to decide wisely what gear to use. For the rest, it's pretty standard stuff if you are into Formula 1. Short braking distances, high downforce, you get the idea. This car behaves more like the old V8 cars, in the sense that they don't have instant power delivery. The power curve is very linear, so it's quite easy to handle wheel spin out of corners unless you are very close to the limiter. And that's it. Now I leave you with some raw footage. Thanks for watching.